This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good morning from South Africa. We're sitting here watching this gorgeous male giraffe who is watching a young hyena run away in the distance. Now, welcome aboard everyone to your very own safari live from the African bush. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. It's time for safari. We have a giraffe on quarantine, just as the sun is starting to come up over the horizon here. There's a hyena just up ahead as well. I think it could be Sutu, so we're going to race around and see if we can catch up with her or him. My name is Lauren. We do have Morgan on camera today, so I think maybe we'll say hello to the giraffe first. I don't know what to do. It's a lot of animals first thing in the morning, and I would also like to try and show you the moon. It's full moon, and it's fuller than full. It's absolutely stunning. Hopefully I can find the moon. It's going to be slightly worrying if I can't. And it's live and interactive. So what that means is you all must talk to us. Kids, if you're watching, email us. Or get your parents to email us using kidsquestions@wildearth.tv. And adults, if you're watching, please do send in your questions and comments. We love the comments too. You can use @FC in the YouTube chat stream or #WildEarth. Let's just look at this gorgeous moon for a moment.
Lauren,
I don't think I need to check my moon app because I know that it's full. It's a chilly 11 degrees Celsius and 51 degrees Fahrenheit. So we're going to keep moving and either get my giraffe or the hyena. But for now, we're going to send you guys across to NIKKI to say good morning.
A warm welcome to all our viewers that are currently watching. So we are live here at Beyond Ngala, and what you're seeing there is the beautiful full moon at the moment. And earlier on it was just above the first tree line, and now it's slowly going down. So as the moon is going down, we're going to venture off on our little safari this morning. But just have another look. You'll notice pretty red in color. It might be because of the dust on the horizon, also maybe lunar dust from the moon. But it is just such a beautiful morning. You might even hear some of the birds. So I'm going to just try and be a little bit quiet so you can hear what's going on around us. So as the birds are welcoming everyone, so myself and Owen, so I'm NIKKI. I'm going to be your ranger this morning, I almost said afternoon, and then Owen on the camera. So what we're going to do from here is, I think, remember yesterday we saw the 3 leopards, and then there was the young female and her brother was on the carcass up in the tree. So we're going to go there this morning and see if there's any chance of finding them again. But look at how quickly that moon has gone down. You know what I would love to do is, as we carry on, maybe there's a chance that we could see the moon right here in the front of us. So the mountain where it's going over now is the Drakensberg mountain. So there's a good chance that we could see that moon going over the mountain or going down behind the mountain. So there's a bit of a ridge coming up in front. So let's just move a bit closer and see if we can get another glimpse of the beautiful moon. Oh, there is going to be a beautiful glimpse. I'm just hoping that there's not too many trees in the way for this one. Chris, I'm sure, after also growing up, just looking at the colors of it, I'm sure there must be some form of cheese up there. But for now, there is that gap right here in front. So let's see if we can get another glimpse of the moon before it eventually disappears. So let's just quickly, I think from here on, we'll probably have a view. And you'll see that the first bottom part of the moon has been cut now. And that's because there's a mountain range in the distance. So let's just get in there and then I'll show you now. So see, it looks like the moon is slowly starting to vanish now. Basically, that's to the west of us, and that's the Drakensberg mountain. So if we give it some time, basically the moon would eventually disappear. And I don't think it will take long. Early on, myself and Owen, as we were sitting and watching the moon going down over the branch, I think it just took like 1.5 minutes, 2 minutes, and then the whole moon was like basically under the branch. So I think let's give it some time, maybe 2 minutes, and this moon would be behind that mountain. But I'll also be quiet so you can hear some of the birds calling this morning. Maybe there's even a chance of hearing a leopard in the distance, or maybe even some lions. Let's listen. Andrew, I can't agree with you more. It is absolutely a spectacular sighting to watch. I think even for me, myself, like this is the first time like being out in this part of the reserve this early on and watching the moon going down over the mountains. So that's pretty special. So I think while we're watching the last little bit of a glimpse of this moon and probably going to see how it disappears right in front of our eyes, like that, we're going to send you across to Ambionpinda, to Damon, who apparently already found lions. So let us carry on and see if there's any chance of finding leopard.
Good morning from Ambionpinda Private Game Reserve. My name is Damon. Behind the camera we've got Marcel this morning. And we've come out from Mountain Lodge this morning, and literally 5 minutes out, we've managed to find the 2 lionesses and their 5 cubs. Have a look over there. Now, over the last half an hour or so, we've been watching how they've been playing, the cubs playing with each other, pouncing on their mothers. Even now, look at that young one. Jumping up on mum's back. Been super playful, and even the lionesses, they've been pouncing on each other and chasing each other around, getting involved in the cubs' games. Look at these, look at just too cute for words. And it's amazing to see how they're getting more and more confident each day, straying further and further from their mothers, exploring their world, playing, pouncing on each other. Look at that! Just skidded down the hill. Oh, listen, there's a lion roaring, listen. was probably one of the two dominant males in this area. It sounds like he's somewhere off to our northwest, but quite some way away down in the valley off to our right. But super special to be able to hear that this morning. And did you see how the lionesses all stopped immediately and looked in the direction of where that male was roaring from? Now, these cubs will be his. Well, his or his brothers. We're not quite sure which is the father of the two dominant males. It may have been that one male mated with both of these lionesses and he's the father of all of these cubs, or it may be that one male mated with one and the other mated with the other. The fact that these cubs are so similarly aged, and we know that it seems that two of the cubs belong to one lioness and three belong to the other. And the fact that they were all born at about the same time means that the two lionesses came into Issues at about the same time. And often with that, just imagine for these lions how much of a benefit that could be, having all of their cubs at the same time. If there's cubs of different ages within the same pride, the older age group playing with the younger age group, we get a bit rough, and sometimes lion cubs are killed like that. Having them all the same age is a better chance of survival, not only from the point of view of youngsters surviving to adults. Grant, you're saying you can never get over how big these little cubs' paws are. It's absolutely adorable. They definitely look like they're too big for their bodies. Just watching this lioness, it seems like, or both of the lionesses, we saw them earlier eyeing out some impala. Oh yes, do come back this way. And their bellies don't look super full. So I wonder if they're not maybe on the lookout for some food this morning. It's nice and cool. And so they'll be moving around probably for the next little while, moving their cubs from kind of sheltered spot to sheltered spot. There's a big ravine behind us where they seem to have come out of, and there's a rocky mountain just over the rise in front of us that these lionesses in the last few weeks have often taken their youngsters. So I wonder if that's not maybe the direction they are heading. Isn't this just precious though, how the mothers are playing with their youngsters, the little ones practicing their stalking and their pouncing. And all of this play is building up their muscles, building up muscle memory, basically training for hunting one day. Ross, you're asking if these two lionesses would have denned together. Now, Ross, even though they did give birth at about the same time, like I said, these cubs are about the same age, and they did leave the pride together to go and den, they would have denned in different areas. And so the one lioness, we are pretty sure that she denned in that same rocky outcrop that's over the hill in front of us. The other one, we suspect denned in the ridges that are off to our right. So very similar areas. And in the time that they were away denning, we did often see them kind of link up together and come and socialize with each other. There's a beautiful sunrise going on behind us. We're just going to pivot the camera around just to watch it coming up over the horizon there. Look at that. Absolutely gorgeous. So yeah, they wouldn't, even though they would have gone away together, they wouldn't have denned in the same den, so to speak. Now, how lucky are you? You got to watch the moon go down and the sun come up this morning. Absolutely magnificent. Linda, you saying gorgeous as usual? Absolutely. Lovely to see it coming up over that ridge like that. It looks like one of the lionesses has started to dig on that little mound next to the road. I don't know what she's doing. I don't think there's a burrow there of any sort. Oh, look, the cub just waited for her to look away and then pounced on her. Already, it's got the instinct to take advantage of the element of surprise when you're unsuspecting, or when your prey is least suspecting, is when you should pounce. I'm just going to move us ever so slightly, everybody, just to the end of this little road in front of us. Just because now the cubs being so small, they're being concealed by the grass. Well, let's just see what happens here. Okay, we're going to try for a better view of these lion cubs. If they do go in the direction of where that lioness on the right is going, we are probably not going to be able to follow them because there's a bit of quite a drastic drop in signal there. So we'll just reposition slightly. In the meantime, apparently Lauren has managed to catch up with that hyena.
Youngster here. I can't figure out exactly who it is from this position. Definitely a youngster. Oh. And we have a ribbon. I cannot believe it. I don't quite know how to show you. I'm maybe going to have to do a big loop. Ribbon is inside the den. Okay, Morgan's just going to give you a quick view. Yep, there's no view from me. Oh, there is. There is 0.5% of an ear. That's Ribbon. That's how cold it must be. She's positioned herself right in that termite mound. So I'm going to try and see if we can get a view of her. But still no sign of Corky. I really don't understand where Corky is. I think she has a separate den. Hello. Okay. We're going to have to go the long way around so we don't disturb them. I don't know if Ribbon's with the cubbies. I would imagine the cubs would be fast asleep. With these temperatures on a really cold morning like this, I would think they would be sleeping. But let's see. Let's see if we can get a view in here. Now, there's something going on in the south. It sounds like dogs. And unfortunately, the radio doesn't work too well, so I am going to say hello to Ribbon. And then go down south, see if we can get... Hi. Don't you look cozy and warm? Ah. And there you have it. Fantastic visuals of a hyena. Definitely she is not waking up anytime soon, and I don't think the cubs will. It's far too cold. I think that's why she's inside, getting some heat. So we're not too far away from the southern boundary, so I think I'm just going to race there, see if we can pick up on what is actually going on. No promises. And then we will come back. I'll do what I did yesterday and keep on popping back to the den, because I still want to unravel the mystery of the Juma clan.
Good morning, hello, and welcome to this end, the northern end of Juma Private Game Reserve. My name is James Hendry. I hope you like my socks, special Sunday socks from the Feet Sock Co. We're looking for the Juma Pride currently, and their tracks are all over this road, but here is where they disappear. So if you look over here, you can probably see a footprint of a lion. That particular footprint is of only one lion, and just behind the car there are footprints of many, many lions. Now, there was word of their visit to the dam cam this morning, sometime in the wee hours, and then they disappeared, and they've turned up here on the northern boundary. They called just before we left camp. I think they are in the reserve north of us, but they might be on the boundary here somewhere. I'm just trying to figure it out. Very good to have you with us. I hope you're all warm and snug and cozy where you are. It's going to be a corker of a day here, I think. I don't think it's going to remain cold for long. One moment, BK. We've just got to figure out where on earth these tracks went. Very frustrating, I must say, having had them definitely so close by just before we started drive, and that they are not close by yet. Let us go and say hello to TAYLA now, who I'm sure is very warm just to the west of us.
No, warm is something that I wouldn't use to describe myself, and my face basically looks like that yellow-billed hornbill's face right now. Very unimpressed that it is still cold, and how dare it still be winter. Hornbill regurgitated, probably a seed of some sort. But we're also trying to warm up this morning in the morning light. The sun has just risen. My name is TAYLA, MCCURDY, and on camera with me today is Gert, and we are here at Pridelands, just part of the greater Kruger ecosystem. And we have been very busy all morning. We've been trying to track a big male leopard that came through and sort of walked on the other side of this drainage line, and then marched past a little pan. I think he had a drink there. But unfortunately, I would assume, I couldn't see his tracks, that he would maybe crossed just north or just to the east of us. But we'll keep looking and listening out. Lots of guinea fowl and things that might give him away. Hornbill. Do we have one more look at this hornbill before we carry on? At first I thought that this hornbill was frozen, because when we found it on the small leadwood that it's sitting on, it wasn't moving. It was just sitting there very, very still. But then it started hopping around, and it's now fluffed its feathers up a little bit. And I just can't believe it feels. It's so cold. I feel like this last week wasn't this cold. But anyways, maybe it's because I've gone back to it being in a tent again. Then you feel all the cold, and also I suppose getting up super early, hey, before the sun rises, something to do with it. Careful. Hornbill almost tipped right on over. You can see how it's relaxed its wings a little bit, trying to expose some of the feathers on its back. And then it will fluff it up. And then all the nice warm sun. And hopefully warm the skin directly. Just some little chirps from it this morning too. And even as it sits there, you can see it's still busy. Looking around, looking for something to eat. It must be really difficult, though, to spot food with a long beak on your face like that. Surely that must obstruct your vision. I suppose that's why we always see the hornbills turning their heads sideways when they see something and they're looking at it. They can see it properly. And while we've been sitting quietly like this, also just listening out for any more alarm calls. There's a go-away bird whining in the distance. But I think from here we'll probably head on towards Leopard Dam and see what interesting things are that side. That lioness was not too far away from the dam, so maybe she's there. And I know since yesterday morning, she's been looking for something to eat. So maybe she'll be successful, or she was successful. Megan, I feel like you can use the why the long face stroke for lots of different creatures, especially the wildebeest. Goodness gracious, they've got a very elongated face. Shall we carry on, Gert? I don't know. I wonder. You know what I'm hoping is that if I start the car and go forward, that the hornbill is going to stay there. Shall we try that so we can get another view? But I don't know if it's going to work. Let's see, so we can get a nice, because it's actually very pretty in the sun. Don't fly. Let's do the stealth mode. Yes. Okay. Actually, this is quite cool because we don't always get the best light on the hornbill. It didn't fly away. I like that that super slow zoom in there in case you give the bird a fright, because it is funny. As soon as we point the camera at the birds, they all fly away. That's a nice view. I also see their lovely patterns on their wings now. They have got a fair amount of white on them. Doesn't look impressed. I don't blame you, hornbill. especially with all the leaves disappearing off the trees now. It must be hard to find a warm spot to roost at night. You'll have to huddle up. Where's your mate? What are you seeing this one? You're also looking for her. Don't worry. It'll happen eventually. Bye, Hornbill. So we shall also continue now. My Ryan, I would imagine, yes, they must get bored if they live by themselves. I mean, normally hornbills are monogamous, so you typically see them in pairs, but, you know, unfortunate things like hornbill might get killed by something, or might just die, or whatever might happen. Maybe they separate because they're not successfully breeding. Who knows what the case may be. But I suppose the way we perceive boredom versus how an animal perceives boredom are probably very different things. I mean, like, if you think about a hornbill's lifestyle, it's quite monotonous, isn't it? Doing exactly the same thing every single day, going out, looking for something to eat. You know, you're busy the whole day. That's their job, is finding food. Then also looking for a mate, and when the breeding season arrives, you know, finding the right nesting hole. And they just do the same thing every day. You know, we change up our days slightly. We play cards, we go on social media, you know. But anyways, I suppose that sometimes when they go into bird parties, perhaps they entertain one another like that way. I don't know. I don't know if they get bored. I don't think that maybe that particular bird species is too intelligent to realize something like that. Anyways, we're going to carry on. Off we go across to Lauren, who's got some hyenas that aren't bored.
The smell. Oh my goodness, I need a mask that is coming off this individual. Everyone, I am so sorry. I thought that was ribbon in the den. I assumed, and my mother always told me never to assume. It's a little bit more detailed expression than that, but I will not say it live. Never assume. It's Corky. Corky was in that den, everybody, and she was plugged because the cub's there. The cub is there. That's exactly why she was in the den, not just for warmth. I'm so sorry, everyone. I thought it was ribbon. It's not. We have Corky in front of us, and that means that little cub is in that den. This is good news. She's leaving, I'm afraid, which means we have to leave. But I just wondered, where is she going? Is she going to lead us to something? I hope so. And I have not seen Corky in a very long time. For some reason, I never get the chance to see Corky. She's seen on the dam cam, but I've actually not seen this hyena in a very long time, and my goodness, she smells. Corky girl, you need a bath. This is so exciting. So I'm finally piecing this together. There's no way Corky would be at that den in the position that she was if there wasn't a cub inside. So I think I just need to keep checking back every 20 minutes, keep going back. And the reason I do that, I can't stay at the den that has cubs inside if there's no adult. It's not allowed, and it's definitely not something that I want to do. But we also have to keep checking back, because a cub that size, it's a very, very small black little bear that we saw with Corky. I can see her nipples, not from here, but I saw her nipples, should I say, when she stood up. And she is lactating, and 100% this all makes sense. She's using the same den as Ribbon. Just last night, everyone, I was with Ribbon and her two little munchkins that we believe are two boys, Bo and Ty, not the official names. And I did do a good genitalia watch yesterday, and they look like boys. I got photos. Definitely, at this stage, it looks like two males. And Corky's little one is in there as well. So it must be over 4 weeks. Normally at the 4-week mark, hyenas start to introduce, or at least take their cub from the natal den to the communal den. So big decision. The dogs have crossed into Torchwood, so I think for now I would really like to try and stay in this area. I think Shadulu's still around. Last night I bumped into Shadulu about 8 o'clock. On quarantine. So I think I'm going to try and follow Corks for now, just to see if she leads us anywhere. And we are going to send you back across to Damon with his little munchkins of his own.
Welcome back, everyone. Thankfully, the two lionesses decided to change their route, and they've come down to a little waterhole. And look at how they have got this African spoon bull surrounded. The lion cubs all watching it very intently, and the spoon bull looking somewhat nervous about the whole situation, but not sufficiently so that he's going to stop feeding. Look at how all the youngsters are watching it intently. It's quite funny. That water's not very deep. They could easily walk through there. I mean, it's only up to the knee of the spoon bull. But they just, for them, water is such a foreign environment. They don't want to get in there and go try and catch it. So they're going to have to just sit here and wait. Even look at the lioness on the left. Look at how she's also very intently watching the spoon bull. And I think it was in fact this spoon bull flying down and landing here at this little pool of water that got the lioness's attention. Ayashnan, who's 12 years old, you're asking if these lionesses are looking for food for their youngsters, and that is why they're moving. Ayashnan, you're absolutely correct. These lionesses are on the lookout for prey. Their tummies don't look like they're super empty, so they're not starving, but they do look like they're on the lookout for food. And this little spot where they are now, being so close to the water here, with us coming into winter, which is now the dry season in this area of South Africa, animals are going to start to congregate around waterholes, or they'll have to start to at least to come to the last few remaining pools, of course, to drink. And so if these lionesses just lie by this waterhole for long enough today, maybe if they go and conceal themselves in one of those bushes on the other side of the waterhole, and if they're able to keep their cubs still and quiet, this will be a very good opportunity for them to hunt. Things like warthogs will come and wallow in the mud here. Look at the muddy banks, look at all the footprints and the disturbances where animals have been down here to drink and to mud wallow. The spoon bull looking a little bit nervous again with the cubs moving. But look at those cubs, look how curious they are. Everything and anything has to be investigated. So any interesting smells, that one there just sniffing the ground. Butterfly, you wondering if the spoon bull would be able to escape if the cub did try to chase it? Butterfly, most definitely. Most birds have got such amazingly fast reflexes. It will definitely be able to jump into the air, take flight, and get away. And just watching these little cubs, I mean, they're super cute, and although they're not tiny, they're still a little bit kind of ungainly. Those big paws that we spoke about earlier, they can't run very fast, let's put it that way. And I think if one of them did decide to take the plunge into this little pool of water, I think also that added water depth and the mud and the plants growing in there, it would slow them down even more. So I don't think the spoon bull is in any danger. And that's why it's still carrying on with its feeding, busy sieving its head from side to side. But it's just adorable watching these little lion cubs staring so intently at the spoon bull. It's almost like they're just longing for it to come close enough so that they can pounce on it. For them, it's just a potential new plaything in their environment. They've got their mothers and their siblings for playing with, and this big white bird, I'm sure, looks like a very enticing toy to them. Look at this one stalking it. Oh, is it going to pluck up the courage? It's getting to the mud, to the water. No. That barrier between land and water is not a barrier that this little cub seems to want to cross. Oh, just quickly have a look at the lioness on the far bank, everybody. Look at how she's sitting. With her ears alert. I was wondering if you'd maybe seen something. Just looking at her body language, it was very tense. She was looking very interested in something. I wonder if she maybe didn't see some impala moving on the hillside off to our left. Jackie, you wondering if the lionesses... Look at that cub's paw. You see it was getting wet. It wanted to shake its paw. Sorry, Jackie, you were wondering if these lionesses would ever go into the water to hunt. And then you're also wondering if the cubs would go into the water whilst playing. Jackie, they would. Lionesses... Oh, look at this, put its paw in the water. It's getting brave. So, Jackie, yes, if these lionesses were hunting something and it was necessary for them to run through water, they would definitely do it. There are even places in Africa, for example, up in the Okavango Delta, where lions frequently have to swim across channels while they hunt, and they frequently have to run through swamps as well during their hunts as they chase their prey. And then these cubs as well, if they were kind of roughhousing and tumbling and rolling around, and one of them ended up in the water, then there's a good chance that the rest of its siblings would come and join it. But I'm sure you saw from the reaction of that cub on this cold morning, I don't think that they are in any mood to get into that freezing cold water. Amazing, the spoonbill though, how it's... I can't get over it. Like it's got 2 adult lionesses and 5 cubs that are just dying to dig their claws and teeth into it, and it's just carrying on with its feeding like there's nothing going on. Also quite incredible to watch how it sieves its bill from side to side. Look at that, everybody. See how it turns its neck from side to side? And what it's doing, it's got its bill slightly open, and inside that bill, there are lots of little finger-like projections. And those are super, super sensitive. And so if, while it's sieving its head, see there? That's it. Okay, so that's what I was coming to. If it feels something that's alive, it will then snap its bill shut and then catch its prey and then swallow it.
Corky's still on the move. We've managed to keep up with her, which is... Oh, I didn't even realise I was on this road. Now I do. And it's been really interesting watching a hyena. She's following her nose. Hyenas don't plan where to go. She's not scent marking or acting territorial along the roads. She's trying to pick up a scent. So that's why hyenas weave. They weave in and out, in and out. I think she's hungry. And the minute they catch something in their nostrils, they'll follow that. And that's why it's so, so difficult to follow hyenas. That's why we never really track hyenas, because it's almost impossible. But I'm trying to keep up with Corky. Why? I want to see if she leads us to a leopard. I want to see what she does. It's been so long since I've seen this individual. Oh, no, Corks, not down that way. Okay, we'll give you some last views. I definitely can't follow. She's going into a drainage line. Here we go. And off we go. But something's definitely gone on this morning, because I've seen, this is my 4th hyena. So Shadulu, as I mentioned earlier, I saw in quarantine. It was full moon last night. So I think something's gone on. I'm going to head back to quarantine and see what I can find. But for now, you guys are going back to those lion cubs.
So we just watched this lioness on the left. She just got up and seemed to want to have a bit of a go at the spoonbill. It had strayed quite close to the edge of the waterhole, but just her standing up made the spoonbill retreat back to the far corner of the pool. Excuse me. And look at her now. Look at how she's again listening in the direction of those thickets. I wonder if there's not maybe something moving around in the bushes. Now, all these thickets around us here would have been a perfect resting spot for a number of different animals to try and shelter from the cold of the night. So things like nyalas might be coming out of the denser bush to feed. And like we said, this waterhole is a perfect spot for these lionesses to wait. Because sooner or later something is going to come down to drink, and for them it's just going to be a waiting game. Rather than them using up lots of energy. Oh, spoonbill keeps jumping in fright. It's almost as if it gets a fright touching something to its leg in the pool. Sorry, I was saying, so for them to kind of just spend the whole day marching through the bush could be quite a big use of energy. Whereas if they just lie in wait here at the waterhole, like I said, something is going to come along sooner or later and give them the opportunity to hunt. It's also giving the cubs an opportunity to burn off some energy exploring. And look at how they're pretty much all of their attentions, except for the one at the far side there that's now going up to greet one of the lionesses. They're all focused on the spoonbill. Eligal, you're asking if the cubs are males or females. So Eligal, we've actually been spending the last half an hour painstakingly trying to figure that out, and we know for sure that there are 2 males and 2 females, but that 5th one is still unaccounted for. We need to get them all to sit still for a bit. Oh, look at that. The spoonbill comes tantalizingly close to the edge, and they all get up and go towards it, and then it goes nut, and it flies back to the other side. So Eligal, we still just need them to sit still for a second, just so that we can get a good look underneath their tails. But yeah, so far we know 2 boys, 2 girls. Oh my goodness, this is so cute. I don't know. They're coming too close for the camera, just about. Here they come, here they come. Trying to find an alternative route to the spoonbill. I'm very curious about the vehicle. And there's those big paws we were talking about earlier. Oh, they're going to surround the spoonbill. Very clever hunting tactics, little lions. And this is the kind of maneuver that they might use later on in life when they, or at least when the females of this pride are taking part in the hunts, where some of the lionesses might lie in wait, the others might do a bit of a kind of loop around a bit, almost form like a pincer shape, and drive the animal that they're hunting towards the waiting lionesses. The little cubs have started to play in the long grass, and it's got the attention of the lionesses. They're both up, they're both coming to investigate. Rosemary, you're saying that this is the absolute cutest thing. I couldn't agree with you more, Rosemary. Little lion cubs are absolutely adorable. Here comes one of the mothers. And especially at this age, Rosemary, they're still small and still look cute and cuddly. And they're still super playful. Oh, shame. Look at this lioness in front of us coming past as well. They're all coming to join up with the cubs. investigate what the cause of the commotion is. And listen to that contact calling, that lioness calling to her youngsters. And off they go.
Good morning, everyone. From Jandra and Dylan at Swala Kalahari. It is an absolutely magnificent morning out here, and it is great having you with. Look at that moon. It doesn't get better than that anywhere. It's actually setting into the shade of the earth being cast into the atmosphere over there. That beautiful blue color all along the horizon like that. That is absolutely priceless. I mean, look at those colours, eh? Those colours, that orange glow. We actually out here quite early. You know, the light isn't great for us yet for the meerkats, and they're still tucked up in bed. So from here, we're about 2-3 kilometers away from the actual burrow system, so we'll head back that way a little bit later. But we just thought that this is just something that we really wanted to share with you. It was full moon last night. Actually, it's today's full moon, so we just really didn't want to miss this. It's a very special thing to see out here. Got some ostriches below the moon in the foreground. Kind of part of us was actually hoping that they would trot over that dune crest. And that is, to get words to try and describe that is just, it doesn't do it justice. Wow, and you see that blue is now fading as the sun starts rising. Shingi the bunny says it's beautiful. No, it is. That is beauty on another level, eh? And you've really just got to sit and take time to watch these things. You know, don't take sunrises and sunsets and moonrises and moonsets for granted. You shouldn't take anything for granted. I mean, it's not. Just if that moon could tell stories. Sure. Luke says this is a not so bad moon rising. Yeah. And actually, while we were just watching that moon set, when we got out here 20 minutes ago, there was the most, and we just didn't have lights, so we couldn't do anything, unfortunately. There was the most spectacular mirage across this entire horizon. It looked like there was a massive lake all the way out here. But like I said, just unfortunately, our light levels didn't allow us to be able to actually get any kind of footage of that. So it makes you want to write things, eh? Yeah, phenomenal in many ways. Wow. Yeah. I'm really glad we could share that with you. And I'm going to head on to the meerkats now. Like I said, it'll take us about 5-6 minutes to get there and then unpack and walk down. So we're going to carry on with that.
We do have lions up trees again, and it seems that the tree climbing starts young. So the whole group of lions, the 2 lionesses and the 5 cubs, climbed up onto this fallen tree. Just amazing to see how... Oh, they're coming back up. Get ready. Here they come. Here they come. Oh, come on, guys. You did it so quickly last time. There we go. The little one's found a stick to chew on. And the one behind it has found its sibling's tail to chew on. It's trying to pull it out the tree. That's gotta hurt, surely. Oh my word, this is just too much. I'm just waiting for... So the one that's pulling the one's tail, its own tail is now dangling, and there's a cub that's looking at its tail. Amanda, you're asking if their ears are full size at this age. You say that the ears look so big for their bodies. Amanda, let's have a close look at that lioness's ears now that she's coming down. So Amanda, they're not quite the same size, but yes, they certainly do look outsized. And from an even younger age, when they're a bit younger than this, in fact, the first time that we saw these cubs, when they were maybe only about 6 weeks old, their ears looked ridiculously big for their bodies. Like they almost looked like little rabbit ears. But no, so the ears will grow a little bit more, Nando. They're still not quite as big as their mother's ears. But the rest of the body is going to grow more until the proportions are the same as what their mother's proportions are. Look at that little one coming up to the top there. Oh, and for these little lion cubs, the whole world is a playground. Like there's just, I mean, look at this. They're finding joy in everything, in the bark of that tree and the sticks growing on the side of that tree. Listen to the sounds of the bark under their claws. Of course, as they jumped up that tree, they would have known to protract their claws out to help them grip. Yvette, you're saying that it's hilarious how these cubs are playing like this. Yvette, I couldn't agree more. It's just so special. You can't help but have the biggest smile on your face. Look, that one's seen its sibling's tail. Oh, couldn't quite get it though. It seems that stick is the most... I mean, look at how they're all trying to get to that stick on the side there. That seems to be the toy of choice. They're falling out of trees. Oh, that one's gonna get stuck. Careful. Oh, and it looks like all 5 cubs are coming up the tree. Oh, did you hear that? That little grunt? So that cub being very protective of its little stick that it's got. Like, this is mine, you can't have it. And again, practicing for adulthood when these youngsters are, although they do already, but it's going to become more and more important as they get older, that they're going to have to be able to defend what's theirs, their part of the carcass. And we've all seen how competitive lions can be at a carcass, and even family members that will one moment be rubbing heads together, the next moment might be fighting over meat. That little bit of behavior we just saw there, that little grunt. A little taste of what's to come when they're older. They're going to be fighting over kills. And we were just, our hearts were sinking. We were thinking that those lionesses were going to go into that impenetrable thicket there in front of us. And then just so lovely to see one of those cubs climb up the tree. And we've just been discussing as well how amazing it's been that the lionesses have been so playful as well this morning. They've been playing with the cubs, like we said, and even chasing each other around, climbing up the tree with the youngsters. I've actually lost sight of them now. I think they might have moved off into the thickets there. Like we said earlier, it does look like they are on the lookout for some food. And perhaps on their wanderings through these thickets they'll come across maybe an inyala. I think that once these little lion cubs jump out the street, we're going to probably move out of the area. I don't think we're going to be able to follow them much further. And we're going to head down into the open plains and see if we can find that mother cheetah that we left yesterday afternoon.
So we've been bumbling about looking for the animals that have left footprints in the sand, but they're not cooperating this morning. So we've decided to just take a moment to enjoy the elephants, which there are plenty of here at Pridelands, as I'm sure you've worked out by now. But just a couple of bulls. Haven't found a big breeding herd just yet, but I suspect that a little bit later in the day we will see a herd come down towards the Leopard Dam or at the Ndlovu Dam by the eco training camp, so we'll give those a bash as well. But elephants doing what they do best, and of course eating. And the one on the left has got a piece of bark. It looks like a spaghetti strand. Maybe it will slurp it up for us. I don't think so though. Feeding on the cambium layer of a knobthorn tree in that gorgeous golden glow. Just taking its time. That one's little tusks are so narrow and so sharp. They are like little knives, which would make it much easier to stab through that bark and tear it. How does it just me, or does that elephant on the right-hand side have exceptionally big ears? Like that he hasn't grown into them just yet. I don't know why his ears, they kind of look out of proportion. I mean, I could just be being ridiculous. Hey? Just the light. No, okay. I don't know why I thought that they looked much larger. But I suppose the bigger your ears, the better, hey? I don't know why they made so much fun of Dumbo the elephant, that animated cartoon movie thing. But I think the bigger your ears, the better. Especially out here, if you're in Africa or anywhere where there's lots of bugs to bother you, can flap them around and really get rid of those flies. And then, of course, keep you nice and cool, which they won't need to worry about right now. Very busy. Now, kicking and pulling. Got a root. It must take so much longer as well to feed on this type of stuff because, you know, bits of grass and nice juicy leaves, they tear off so easily. They crunch down, or as they grind them down with their molars, that also wears down a bit quicker. So they really spend a lot more time feeding in the drier seasons on one thing. I'm sure you get what I'm trying to say there. You know, by now an elephant would have had 3 or 4 trunkfuls of grass or leaves, where it just takes them that much longer to look for their food. Which goes to say that they probably don't get as much nutrients as they would in the summer months. You just get bullied out of the way there by that little elephant. Fascinating. Oh, right, off you go quickly. James has got something exciting.
We've tracked the Nkuhuma Pride, and they're on Djuma, and they seem to be in the middle of a hunt. All I can see is the one lioness. It's been such a confusing morning. Just to quickly give you a summary while we try and figure out what's going on here. We had information from the dam cam that the lions had come to this in the direction that we found them. But then we heard them calling to the north. We followed tracks to the north. Something going on here. Let's move. I suspect the rest of the pride is just around the corner here and is chasing something towards this lioness. Oh, this is going to be tricky. You see her? There, she's running now this way. She's coming this way. The rest of the pride's after something. I can see the rest of the pride. She's just gone through this gully. Up onto the top there. Oh, can we get through here? Yes, we can. Yes, we can. They're all chasing now. Oh. All right, one over there. One's gone up onto the top here. This might be nice. If we get up on top, we might be able to get a view of them all. Hunt in progress from the air, as it were. There's one behind the bush, obviously. I just don't want to get too close and make a mess here. Butterfly, you say lionesses at Djuma don't play, they mean business. Well, when we can find them, yes. There's definitely a hunt in process here. Let me just, I'm going to ease down this little termite mound because the wall of impenetrable Ziziphus thicket is becoming irritating. She's just going to come out. Oh, no, she's not. She's just going to stop behind the bush. Well, Dizzy, only somebody who's never watched lions would say the lions are only nocturnal hunters. So far I've seen 2 lionesses. That's all. I wonder if there's not a buffalo in here somewhere. She's looking off towards the right there. Let me just get into a little position here and try not to drive down into the gully and cause us some form of injury. She's listening carefully, looking, watching, smelling. She's calling. She's just heard someone else call. Ooh, ooh. I don't know if you heard that. Okay, let's follow her. I'm not sure how close or far this hunt is from actually being something that comes to fruition. Let's follow and find out. Ooh, we should make it through here. Okay? Remove your dentures. Oh. My record with vehicles has not been... All right, we're going to go over to Lauren and her hyenas. No, hang on, wait. So another lioness come running down from the side there. There's the other lioness. Here's the third one coming now. Unless this is some sort of territorial dispute. I don't think so, though. Pretty sure this is a hunt. Here come the others now, BK, down from the right. Yeah, lots of them coming down now. Yeah, look, it's a territorial fight. It's a territorial fight or some play behavior, but there was a proper chase there. Maybe that was just for fun. There's no growling. I think it was just for fun. I think everyone else would have done the same if it had been an actual fight. Yes, here they are. Now we want to see the babies, please. Good morning. How are you? Good to see you. It's been some time. Depends on the pride high beyond. Yes, sometimes one lion will lead the hunt, but often it's just a kind of melee. But certainly when old, what was her name? What did we call her? The one who had the nasty scar on her hip, the oldest lioness. She used to almost always lead them out when they started to move in the middle of the evening. Or at dusk. This is great. The whole pride's coming down now. The juveniles coming through the bushes. And with any luck, the cubs as well. That's right. We call the oldest lioness Nana. Thank you, Emma. The little ones. So cool. Hi guys. Looks like you got a little bit of a winter coat on. Yeah, the little ones are looking much better now. Their mange seems to be clearing up. A whole lot of them coming down through here. What a lot of lions. Gosh, it's so long since I spent any time with these cats, and I mean, I suspect they'll probably walk straight out of the south of this reserve back to MULLER today, but at least we have them for a while, right? Yes, Sherry, you're absolutely right. The boys are getting huge, aren't they? They're all sort of starting to move now down towards the south. I suspect what's happened is that the hunt has failed. and they are moving. Right, let's go back to Lauren at the den where there is some action.
Well done, James, for finding the Nkuhumas. Good job. I've came back to the den after a bumble for about 30-40 minutes, and everything has changed. Ndebele is still here. Ndebele was the older one that's walking off. Ribbon is there, I promise you. I'm just going to show you Ribbon. Morgan, she's flat as a pancake. Oh, no, she's put her head up. So Corky left. We followed Corky. We've came back. Ndebele was the one we saw at the start, and now Ribbon's here. Now, Sutu, I think, is also here, nibbling on something delicious. I don't even... Well, I have no idea what it could be. Ribbon's face is covered in blood, so she's obviously had a good meal. And the cubs are out and about. They'll pop their head up any minute now. That's amazing. It just shows you we arrived here to Corky, who I think was suckling. Then Corky leaves, we do a big loop, come back, and now Ribbon and 2 others are here. And the cubs are starting to wake up. Isn't that amazing? Corky did her bit and left. I actually think there's a high chance when we first arrived that the cub was suckling, sorry. Hi. Good morning. You have pillow face. That is 2 sleepy peepees right there. It's time to get up. So this must mean the other cub is inside, but the other cub would only respond to its mother's vocalizations, who is Corky. We just have to put our patience pants on now. And just keep coming here and just wait it out. As long as there's an adult here, we can be here. Don't they just look like little hyenas now? Walt, I'm so glad to hear that hyenas are your favorite creature. Many of you have reached out to me and said that your perception of hyenas has changed, and I'm so glad. I really don't believe any animal should have such negative connotations attached to it, just like sharks. Sharks have a terrible reputation. Hyenas, you guys have an awful reputation. You do. But it's not deserved. Really, really incredible. And I also feel sometimes that hyenas are different. Although they're spotted hyenas, crocuta, their behavior differs in different geographical locations. And I sometimes wonder if there's a lot more we have to learn about the hyenas in this specific part of the Lowveld. I think they're looking for Ribbon. Ribbon's over there. So this is Mr. Smiley. This one that we're looking at has a smiley face on its leg, on its left front leg. There's a smiley face. That's definitely going to be your key identification feature. I'm sure of it. I am definitely not going to go anywhere. I'm going to stay with my hyenas, but it appears the Nkuhumas are looking into a hole.
Yes, one of the adults sort of came up and started jumping about in this hole. And our 2 youngsters are having a go at it. There's still 3 or 4 lions behind us. That's what they're looking at. Could be a bit of a play here. They're all calling. Ooh, ooh. Look at this one's eyes. This one's got remarkable eyes. There's now some playing going on behind a bush, right in front of us. Let me just try and move a bit. There's a bit of a fight going on. Can you see down there, BK? No. This little cub is being bullied. Don't know why. In fact, they're now all being bullied. Now the adults being bullied by the cubs. It's so sweet. Yeah, Patty, they do have the cutest faces. They ate something last night. That also we heard from the dam cam, apparently. But also, you can see blood on some of them. That adult's back digging in the hole. So bizarre. Just moving the antenna. No, there might be something in there, but I don't know what it would be. One of the young lionesses. Now, let's go down a bit. Well, Lady Lion, I was thinking the same thing, but it's on a riverbed and it's wet in there, so I don't think so. That is a very playful sub-adult, and she's now disturbed the entire mass of cubs and run off, and they're following. It's almost like she's looking after them. She's their kindergarten teacher, perhaps. I'm just going to have to get on the radio quick. Go ahead. Look. No, go for it. Isn't this cute? Look at the eyes. I can't remember them having such almost white eyes before. Right, following them from here is going to be tricky, but we are going to try. All right, while I try and get out of here, let's go across to TAYLA and figure out what's going on there.
We found some elephants. Some little elephants and big elephants. It's all quite exciting, except so far we've had to reprimand a naughty elephant bull. It was just getting way too close for comfort, and he seems to be sulking now. There he stands. He had his head up against this knobthorn tree. But he isn't particularly friendly, but he came through, interestingly enough, into the herd at full speed and startled everybody, and then the big cows were not happy with him. And then he obviously turned his attention to us, the next biggest thing, and he tried to intimidate us, and Anana threatened to throw a cup at him. I wouldn't throw a cup at an elephant, but I did shout at him a little bit, and now he's sulking over there by himself. But the whole herd just keeps moving away from him, so he's kind of at this point where nobody wants to have anything to do with him, and I don't think that he has quite come to terms with it just yet. So he's a very frustrated elephant. Well, if you behave like that, then it serves you right. Anyways, at least he's settled down now. And it's such a difficult thing to do, like when you're dealing with these teenage elephants. It's a nightmare. Anyway, it's much easier to just talk to the early cows and the calves that are very much relaxed with us. I don't know which breeding herd this is. It's a smaller group. There's not very many of them. Maybe about 10 individuals, including the calf. Maybe 12. But only a handful of adults. This is one of the bigger cows in the group. Hi, girl. She's got interesting tucks. One that grows up and one that grows down. You can see she's a very big girl. Kayla, yes, this is indeed part of the Greater Kruger Park. So we are in Baluli Game Reserve, essentially, but we're right on the southern boundary. So Pridelands literally hugs Hoedspruit, the small safari town. And then from here, you have to kind of go through Kaseri or Baluli eventually to get to the Kruger National Park. But it's all open ecosystems and there's no fences between where we are right now. So these elephants could go all the way to the Olifants River if they really wanted to. They could walk to the Timbavati as well, the Timbavati River. So as the crow flies, I think we said that Ngala is only 30 kilometers away from Pridelands, which is really, really close. It's not far at all. So for an elephant, they could walk that distance quite quickly, or they could definitely do it in a day. If they put their heads down and didn't feed as much, they could march on through, and who knows, maybe NIKKI will be seeing the same breeding herd soon. And they will move towards the nice big river systems as well, which Ngala definitely does have. But for now, they are happy to feed in this area. But the Greater Kruger ecosystem is unbelievable. It's huge. It really is just enormous. And I popped into Kruger this past week, which was a lot of fun because there was not another vehicle in sight. We had incredible sightings of 4 different lion sightings, a leopard all to ourselves. We didn't have a car in any of the sightings for us, but just driving around and really appreciating how vast those areas, those wilderness areas are is pretty unbelievable. Sometimes I feel like I can't wrap my brain around them. Oh, the little elephant. Can you see the little... Oh, no, they stopped playing now. They do this so quickly. I'm wondering if this is Susan's herd. I thought I saw her earlier, but they kind of spread out. But there are 2 little elephants that, again, seem to be finding fun in what once was a mud wallow. Trying to pull up little roots and things there, and I think enjoying the 4x4ing as they move along that little eroded area.
You enjoy your Ellies, TAYLA. I am thoroughly enjoying my hyenas. What a morning. I really can't get my head around the dynamics, and I wonder if Corky being at the den at a different time from Ribbon is actually quite significant, or was it just a coincidence? I think I need to come here earlier. As soon as drive starts, I think I need to be at this den and try and see if we can see that happen again. If you remember, we didn't see Ribbon's bundles of joy. Bundles of trouble now, I think. For a long time, they keep them hidden in the den for safety, for warmth. I'm going to estimate from using my knowledge and from seeing Corky's cub that it's around the 4-week mark. No spots visible, not as big as these 2. And the habituation process for these 2 has been relatively easy. They're starting to come to the car now, so it's a fine balance between letting the hyenas sniff the car and then also sort of telling them to go if they get too close. Now, I really don't think the hyenas would do anything, but they're very curious, and they're curious with their mouth. So you don't want to scare them. I'm not a fan of shouting at an animal. Hey! Really, really loudly. I don't think that is going to be beneficial for the relationship with the animal and also beneficial for the habituation process. But if the wild animal comes too close, and Debelly came very close yesterday, you do have to make sure that they know that there's a line. She sneezed. I think this is Sutu. So yes, they have to know that there's a line that they can't cross, and it's a balance. You've got to find that balance. You want the cubs to be okay with the vehicles. You also want them to smell the vehicles, to explore the vehicle, to understand that we're not a threat. No vehicle is going to be a threat to these little cubbies as they go older. But you also don't want them to become too familiar that they're going to explore everything with their teeth. They're wild animals. You've got to respect them and understand them. And I think the habituation process is really, really important. I really do. Lady, that is such a good question, because they smell so bad. So bad. They're not, how shall we say, they do tend to urinate on themselves. And they tend to lie on and in carcasses. Now, if you remember, just a few days ago, we had these cubs take an impala head inside the den. Now, that's still inside the den. Can you imagine rotten flesh? It will not be pleasant. And they're not meticulous groomers like the cats. If you watch leopards, they really, really... Sutu, is she going all the way in there? Oh my goodness. I didn't realise the hole was that big that Sutu could get inside. She wouldn't harm the other cub, but she's very intrigued, that's for sure. And yes, leopards are meticulous groomers. They don't want to smell. They're solitary. They need to navigate the landscape here without being noticed. Leopards don't want to be noticed, so that's why they clean. They really, really clean. They really groom. Hyenas, not so much. They're really not meticulous groomers. They just roll with it. And it doesn't smell good. What is happening here? Is this little one trying to exert some dominance here? When we first arrived, we saw, I'm pretty sure this is Sutu, an Indibele playing with ribbon, and it was very lovely. It was really, really tender and familiar, and I think Ribbon's proven to be quite the matriarch, quite accepting. Okay, I'm of course not going to go anywhere. I'm going to stay and watch my hyenas and see what they get up to.
Wild Earth relies on support from viewers like you to carry on broadcasting our daily live shows. A small donation goes a long way in helping us on our mission to connect the world with nature. Please visit our support page to see how you can help and become part of the Wild Earth family.
Everything has calmed down here now from our exciting hunt to play behaviour to digging. They've come out of the riverbed and they're sort of settling here in the sun. Although, I say that, we've got a bit more movement now. Very nice to see our old pals, isn't it? Do we have to lie right there, my dear? I don't suppose there's any reason you shouldn't, but it is very close to us. I'm feeling slightly intimidated, I won't lie. We'll sit quite still, I think. She's come and she's lying down in the shade of the vehicle. I'm not sure why she'd do that when it's so cold and might be nice lying in the sun. much. No, she's chosen to lie here. You can also see blood on the face of the one closest to us. Yes, you're absolutely right. It is very close, everyone. She's got to be 2 meters from the end of the car. Is this the lioness who was digging? You can see blood all over her face there. And I know this is a bit grim, but I do find the reddish colour on their golden coats are really kind of... The red and the gold is a very nice colour combo, unless you happen to have been the animal that provided the red. Yeah, it is amazing how trusting they are, Luke. It's just great. It's very special that we're able to spend the kind of time that we are with them in such close proximity to them, to all the animals here, but especially the big cats, which tend to be so amazingly confiding around us. They're definitely calming down now. But the cubs might do a little bit of playing still before having their morning ziz. You know, they walked far last night. They walked all over the place. And one of the best sightings you can have in the early morning on the banks of the Tumpavati River is monkeys.
So as those lions that James had a bit earlier went and settled a bit in the sun, so look at how this little vervet monkeys come down. So right next to it is a hole where the elephants have dug for water, and it actually went in to see if there's maybe a bit of a drink, and then came back out. You can see just sitting with its belly in the sun just to warm up. So it's one of those little, what's known as a vervet monkey. Look at the white eyebrows, very dark face, a lot of light color on the chest and the belly, and then of course a bit of a gray color on the back and the arms and the legs. There's quite a few of them around at the moment, but this one has just been, it's not been a camera shy at all. It's just come down into the banks just to come, of course, and see if there's a drink and then enjoy that sun. But you can see the way that it's looking around to see if there's any possible danger, because you can imagine with something like a vervet monkey, the ones up in the trees like the one you see now, they have a good vantage point to spot to see if there's any potential predator, especially some of the predators that could go for them, as something like a leopard that we are looking out for this morning. And if they do see that, of course, they'll make a very sharp alarm call, and as soon as that happens, all the other vervet monkeys will then run into the trees for a bit of safety. But also what I might ask is that, so Owen, with this one that was in the close to us now, so it's just moving in front of us in the bank, in the sand right in front of us. If we can just focus on him, I'm going to lower my head out of the way because I think it might just be in the way. But I want to point out something very interesting here with this little vervet monkey. Now, see the direction that it is moving. There's some impala in the background. So just beyond where this vervet monkey is now, there's some impala in the shades of the tree. So whenever there's quite a few vervet monkeys up in the trees, they often drop some of the leaves as they move between the branches, or maybe if there's any fruit, they'll drop it, and the impalas would basically go underneath and go and pick it up, which they would normally not be able to get to it. But at the other hand as well, is you have these vervet monkeys that are very, like, you can often find that they are very alert of what's going on around them, and also having this extra set of eyes and ears up in the trees. But Ruby, I do agree, like, vervet monkeys are quite special. So very cute. And so there's I think while we enjoying some of these vervet monkeys, like crossing over this Timbavati River in the sand, we're going to send you back to another animal that loves digging in the sand, and that's the meerkats at TAYLA Kalahari.
So Genre and I got you just after these meerkats got up. And again, they're throwing these little curved balls at us. So they were now 20 minutes earlier than they were yesterday and the day before. So whatever's driving this is very, very interesting. We're not sure what it is. We're not going to complain though. So this is D-Day. I think Genre said they're going to come out today. Let's see. Well, I don't know why I'm laughing, because I'm completely out of the running, because I said yesterday, so that settles that. Again, there's no sign of any other predator activity in the area here. The meerkats are nice and relaxed, which is very, very, very good. I think what we're going to do, just out of an academic exercise, and it'll be quite interesting to see as well, going forward, I think what we'll do, we won't do a big area, but we'll take a small patch, maybe 2-3 meters close to these burrows every afternoon, and we're just going to wipe it clean of any tracks. And then when we get here in the mornings, then at least we can see and actually show you what animal activity has been around the area. It'll be a bit of a hit and miss, but it'll be quite fun to do it anyway. I know Marie is saying she thinks the pups are only going to come out tomorrow. I'm kind of like siding with that now as well. But anyway, let's see. Yes, so that 2-week time frame, it's not set in stone. It's not saying, well, on 2 weeks, that's when the pups come out. It could be a little bit longer, it could be a little bit sooner. That one recorded instance that we've had of 4 days after being born that they were moved, that's highly unusual, and that was due to a potential predation event. So yeah, but we're on that cusp now of, I mean, they could be out any day.
Well, that's quite exciting to see meerkat pups. Not that I've ever seen meerkats in the wild before, so it would be awesome. I'll have to tune into the show as well. We're still sitting with elephants, and I can indeed say that this is Susan's herd, because Susan came over to us and did her thing as she normally does, and then she got bored and she moved on off. But now we're just watching this herd as it grows and grows. It was funny how we just started off with a few individuals, and within, I don't know, 20 minutes, we've now got over 25 elephants around here. Here are the boys coming in late, all the youngsters. You just look cheeky already. You can see how he's got his ears flared, he's put his head up. He's not so certain about us. You just keep walking, buddy. Here we go. There's sometimes you got to show the elephants who's boss. But it's been a lovely morning so far. But quiet on the cat front. Lots of tracks, but not many alarm calls, and they all seem to go to the water, and then I can't figure out where they go afterwards, which is what I thought that these elephants would do. But it seems that they're changing direction and now moving east, away, well away from Leopard Dam. So I think there is another pan not too far away from here, actually, where we first had leopard tracks this morning. I think the elephants are going to make their way down that side. So we'll have to chase after them again this afternoon. There's a young bull with only one tusk. Joe, it can be quite difficult to age elephants. It's easy when they're really little, because then you look for certain signs, you know, can you see their tusks coming through? How well are they able to use their trunks? Is their body completely covered in hair? You know, when the elephants are born, they're very hairy, and sometimes they have a slight pink tinge behind their ears. Do they fit underneath their mother's belly? That normally means that they're 6 months and younger. But again, I suppose it also has something to do with genetics, because not all elephants reach the same height and same weight. So if your mother is quite small, you know, you might end up being quite little too. So, you know, there's a number of different things you need to take into account. With these young elephant bulls, I would say most of them are between the ages of about 12 and 15 or so. They're not very big, and then some of the others that have actually walked past are even a bit younger than that, just less than 10 years old. So they're kind of going to get to the point where they are going to move off and away from the herds completely. But yeah, but definitely on the younger side of things. You'll see there's a whole bunch of them coming through now. See that one coming through there. He doesn't look as tall, but there's one that's about to photobomb us. See, also a little bit taller, but I would say maybe only about 12 years old. Somewhere around there. Young boys. And they typically will hang around within the same age group. You see with the bulls that might be slightly different. We know that they like to follow the bigger bulls around. But they're all fairly small. And then with the cows, it becomes difficult, you know, to sort of start seeing an old elephant, is that you can look behind their eyes, sort of where I suppose their temples are, and that becomes quite sunken in as they start to get older. There's lots of different things that you can look for. How much wear on their tusks that they have. It's so peaceful, though. It's almost putting me to sleep as because we haven't moved. We've just sat with the elephants pretty much the entire morning. And my eyes are growing very heavy. But it seems as though a grey is the theme today, because Pinda's jumped on board and they've got something of a similar colour.
Welcome back, everyone. As I said, we have come down into the open grasslands in search of that mother cheetah and her two youngsters, and we did manage to find them. Just unfortunate that we weren't able to film where they were, not enough signal, so we've left our tracking vehicle with them to monitor their progress and call us if they do move into a better area. So we'll be listening out carefully for that. But in the meantime, we've managed to find a group of white rhinos. Have a look at that. Oh, look, can you just see to the right of that cow in the middle there? There's a little youngster. Then you can just see its back sticking up above the long grass. You can just see their backs and then those long tubular ears sticking up and listening around as they feed. And have a look at how that rhino has got almost like a two-tone colour to her. I don't know if you can see that. There's a bit of lighter grey on her neck, and then much darker. Oh, now that she turns a little bit to the side, look at how dark her back is. And that tells us that she's been rolling around in the mud. Now, it's much too chilly for her to have done that this morning, so probably from yesterday sometime. It's been pretty chilly early in the mornings in the last couple of days, but with the very little cloud cover that we've been having, the sun has been super, super intense. And so by the middle of the day, if you, like this rhino, were to spend the whole day out in the open grasslands feeding, you also might get quite warm. And so that's probably when this rhino would have gone and had a bit of a mud wallow to cool off, and also to help her get rid of ticks. Okay, we're going to wait for our rhinos to move a little bit closer to us. In the meantime, though, Nikki has apparently managed to find an owl out in the open at Ngala.
So we just, as we came down the river, we saw this big Faroese eagle owl. So you can see the other name for it is called the giant eagle owl. But have a look, especially near the face, you'll notice that the eyes have these very pink eyelids. And it's quite a big owl in general. And just also seeing where it's sitting up in the tree, it has such a beautiful vantage point of what's going on around it. So if there's anything that moves, especially in this dry riverbed, there's a good chance to be able to spot it and go down and possibly catch it. But I think with it warming up, it would probably head into an area, maybe a dense part of the tree, to go and settle down for the day. But so their prey species also vary from quite a variety of different things. So something as big as a vervet monkey, or maybe like a smallish vervet monkey, to a smallish warthog size, all the way down. And they're very opportunistic. I mean, whatever they might see, they can possibly go for it. Even other birds. Mac, it is a lovely owl, and I can see why you love it, just based on the size. And I mean, if you look at the different colors, also notice just the way that the colors fade from, if you look next to the eyes, you'll notice there's that black, little bit of white, a light brown, and then fades into a bit of dark. It's a really beautiful owl. Joe, the chances are very likely that it could nest in a possible tree like that. But normally what they do is, as soon as there's almost like a bigger tree, where there's a big crevice within the tree, they could possibly use that. I think that tree that it's sitting on might be a bit too thin. But there's always a chance. I mean, if they go to probably a little bit more down towards the base, they'll be able to nest there. I think while we appreciate this owl for another second or two, I'm going to send you back to James as we carry on with our drive along the river.
Well, yes, they are becoming very snoozy indeed. I'm not sure how long they're going to do anything other than sleep. I will just say, I'm going to be quiet for a second, because there's one of them's definitely got some kind of a fairly unpleasant grating breathe. Sort of rasping, rattling breath, like she's, consumptive. So I just want to see if she does it again. As we know, TB is in these lions, all the lions of the Greater Kruger. And as 20 years ago, they thought that it was going to spell the death knell for the lions of the Kruger. They were going to all die, and nobody knew what to do about it. But they just seem to have coped. They just don't seem to have had nearly as much trouble dealing with it as everyone expected them to. But don't think that I've heard that kind of rasping, rattling breath before. Very disconcerting. Naturally, she hasn't done it again while you guys have been with us. Jody, yes, this pride definitely has mange, but it always has mange on and off, in and out. So you will certainly see mange in this pride. But it was a lot worse in the last time I saw them, which I don't even know when that was. But it was definitely worse for these cubs, I think, the last time I saw them. Now they seem to be coping with it just fine. Some of them are still scratching, but they're not. I don't think they're in any danger of succumbing to it. And in fact, their bodies seem to be fighting it off. That little cub moving there, yeah. It's definitely got patches of mange still, patches of bare skin. A little bit disconcerting when a lioness walks half a metre from you. Quite an honour as well, I suppose. Look at this. Can you even see that one bigger? This little one looking up at us. So you can see still scratching the mange there, but it's not a train smash. Yeah, I don't think there's going to be a huge amount of activity here, but we'll hang around until they really are thoroughly asleep. News on the blower is that Tundi has been found close by to where I've been scouring the landscape for the last 2 weeks. So in between the two roads where she comes in and out of Djuma. I think Lauren's on her way there, so we'll get a view of Tundi as well, which will be great. Lions don't actually den as much as leopards do, but they do den, but not when the cubs are this age. They'll only den until the cubs are between 6 and 8 weeks old, and then the cubs move with the pride, and then they have temporary refuges when the rest of the pride goes off hunting. But they don't have a den after 8 weeks. Normally. Obviously, there's variation. All right, we're going to just sit here for a little while, and we might hang around, we might move on, but you're going to go back to the Kalahari for a bit of sunning yourself with Dylan, and hopefully some meerkats.
Back to the Kalahari where I'm sunning myself. Okay, I'm not sunning myself nearly as well as these meerkats are, that's for sure. It was... When Genre and I left the research centre this morning, it was probably, well, my vehicle gauge said about 1 degree centigrade. By the time we got out here, when we watched that moonrise, excuse me, the temperature had probably dropped to about -2 or -3. It was freezing cold here this morning. But it's warming up really, really nicely now, so I'm quite toasty inside this jacket. so pleased how far we've come with this little group of meerkats. The fact that there's 5 of them sitting out, the 6th one will just be underground, he'll be popping out shortly as well. Compared to where we were almost 3 weeks ago with this group, I mean, normally it was 2 of the adults that were out, relaxed, and then the rest were fairly skittish. We've just come in leaps and bounds. Well, not us. We're still trying to habituate Jandre. He takes a little bit longer, but we throw snacks down for him, and we're getting closer and closer to habituating him. But these meerkats have really, really come on nicely. James has asked, how is a meerkat hierarchy established? If I heard that correctly, I'm pretty sure I did. So that's a very, very good question. There's different ways. You tend to find that the strongest ones in the group will be the dominant ones, and that goes for the male and the female. It can also be that the youngsters of the alpha female take up that position as a more senior one, and that's particularly in groups where you've got multiple females that have got youngsters. In a group like this where you've only got that one female breeding, it'll normally be her youngsters that'll take over there. But that competition between the males in particular, your strongest, toughest males tend to be the dominant ones. Every now and again they're watching something in the distance over here. I don't know what that is. There's some springbuck miles away. I hear some of our colleagues got a Verreaux's eagle owl this morning. I don't know which place that was on, but we got Verreaux's eagle owl as well. But it was pitch dark when we saw it, so it's nice that they're out and about.
Get her from here. I have Miss Tandy. Whew, she's taken us through the block. She is a woman on a mission, that's for sure. We left the hyenas. It's a tricky one. Everything's happening this morning. Tandy cat, hyena cubs, and lions. It's a busy, busy morning. I think she's hungry. This is my first Panthera pardus in a while, everybody. Hello, leopard. I started to forget what you guys looked like. Woman on a mission. It's not going to be easy to follow her, but we are going to do exactly that. Morgan can get his first taste of Bundabashen. I know, I have not seen Tandy in a very long time, everybody. She's looking good. So, of course, she's right at the back of the vehicle. So we just need to wait until she moves before we move. Okay, we're going to try and keep up with her. She's just behind us. And many of you have been asking for updates on the cub. I believe the cub is alive and well. It's seen on Torchwood quite a lot. So do not worry about that. Wouldn't it just be wonderful if the cub was on Juma for a while? Now, while we follow our queen, we are going to send you across to Damon with some white rhino.
We're still waiting for our rhinos patiently to move in our direction. But they've kind of been milling around in circles on that little patch that they're on. Obviously some especially good grazing there. And we're currently looking at, I don't know if you can see how much darker this rhino is than the one we were originally looking at. And if we look really closely, I use my binoculars and we use the zoom of the camera, can you see all the mud on his back? Remember how earlier we were talking about how these rhinos would have rolled in the mud yesterday to help to keep themselves cool, and in addition to that, help to rid themselves of parasites. So after a good mud wallow, this rhino yesterday would have waited for the mud to dry and then gone up to a tree or a stump, I suppose even while the mud was wet, and he would have rubbed himself up against that tree stump, up against that rock, to help him to get rid of any ticks. Oh, and now that he's lifting his head, let's have a close look at his face. So of course, as those of you that have been watching for a while now, you'll be used to the fact that our rhinos here do not have horns. We've dehorned our rhinos to keep them safe from poachers. But I don't know if you were able to see how thick the base of those two horns were. And even with a dehorned rhino, that can be a very useful tool, especially from a distance like this, in helping us to tell whether a rhino is male or female. So because rhino bulls use their horns for fighting, those horns need to be super robust and strong. And so the horns are very thick at the base. Whereas in the case of a rhino cow, she needs her horn for the protection of her calf and of herself for that matter. So their horns, the female's horns, tend to be much thinner, even at the base. So even with a dehorned rhino, that can be a useful means for us to tell males from females. And interesting seeing these three together. So like we said, it's a bull on the left, and then on the right a mother and her calf. And we've seen it a few times now. It seems it's just about every white rhino that we've shown you, there seems to have been a bull in the company of a cow. So a couple of you wondering if this is the same trio of rhinos we've been seeing over the last few weeks, and I was about to get to that. I think it might very well be. Again, it's a bull that's very close to a cow, and it could be that she is coming into estrus, and that he's sticking close to her, waiting for the right moment, so to speak. Now, with white rhino courtship, it can take days, up to, well, weeks for that matter, up to about 20 days or so close to 3 weeks, for a female rhino to give in to the advances of her suitor. And so that might be why this bull is sticking close to this female. So yes, it could very well be the same trio.
Talking of vantage point, Miss Tandy has positioned herself up on a termite mound. Now, it's not the best views, but she's looking at something, she's scanning. So we will not position the vehicle in front of her. Her belly looks relatively full. I mean, she does not look like she's starving, but she's definitely on a mission. Isn't Tandy always on a mission? I can't explain how good it is to see her. Oh. Fabulous. Thank you, girl. Just going to remain stationary. She actually looks great. Tandy's looking very, very good. And she just keeps crossing that eastern boundary, cheetah cut line, from Torchwood to Djuma, from Torchwood to Djuma. And the female leopardess movement on Djuma is very, very interesting right now. You've got Tandy covering the sort of southern eastern corner. You've got Tlalamba covering the northern eastern corner, a little bit to the northwest. And then that remainder chunk of Djuma, I think Miss Shadulu's pushing in. Shadulu will have to give up some of her territory to Kara very, very soon. And I think that that's why she's pushing further into Djuma. It's fascinating. They've all got to move around one another. They've all got to ebb and flow. I always liken it to those Mac visualizers. Davi shouted at me one day and told me Windows have the visualizers too, so apologies to all Windows users. Yes, you're beautiful. But those visualizers that you see on the computer, they're constantly moving around one another. They're fluid, they're dynamic, they ebb and flow, but they never clash. And that's how the best way I can describe leopard territories to you all. I hope some of you understand what I'm saying. If you don't, I apologize. They don't want to clash. But Tandy meeting Klalamba would be a completely different occurrence from Tandy meeting Shidulu, because Tandy is, of course, Klalamba's mother. So they will tolerate one another to an extent. I think Tandy was trying to eat some flies there. She's gorgeous. Okay, hopefully our queen sits on this very small termite mound for a little bit longer, but we are not going anywhere.
We are definitely going somewhere. This will be our last view of the Nkuhumas this morning, because they have decided that they are going to do absolutely nothing for the duration of the day, I think, from now on. And so we shall press on and see what else there is, but we'll do one more segment here. So if you have any questions, comments, not sure what else you might want to say to the Nkuhuma Pride, but compliments. Maybe you'd like to compliment them. Thank them for being here. This would be the time to do it. I'm so pleased we found them. It's such a great stroke of luck. We probably could have found them earlier if I just followed the recommendations from the dam cam. But we heard lions calling to the north. We followed tracks up into the north and assumed that they were these ones. But I don't know what on earth went on last night. In fact, my guess is that the Nkuhuma Pride came into Djuma far west, sort of around the western edge of Djuma, and then kind of potted around the north, went down to Gallagher Pan, which is quite near the camp. And then I think they went back out onto the cut line, probably hunting, and then back down south to eventually where they killed. They definitely killed something last night. Maybe one of those wildebeest or an impala. Probably a wildebeest though, because they all look pretty full. And then we picked them up much later on. Anyway, there it is. I know, Jenna, I must confess that I don't remember the lions having eyes like this before. There's some of them that have got those kind of, I'm not going to say average, but very kind of average lion eyes, sort of honey colour. There are a few here with very white eyes, which is almost eerie and very beautiful. Right, we're going to head out of here. Taylor's got something else with great eyes.
We seem to be having an unbelievable amount of luck. We have a little pearl-spotted owlet sitting out during the day. Now, last night we also had a view of a pearl-spotted owlet. This one is far more active. So it's been bouncing around in a marula tree and now has flown to the end of this branch. And it is even chirping for us. It's an interesting call that you don't always get to hear. Let's see if it does it again. Not right now, but normally we know that they do the classic call, which I won't do now because these little owlets are exceptionally territorial, and if I do the whistle, it will 100% respond, and we don't need it to do the whistle. It's sitting right there. It's not far from us at all. It's like 15 meters away, which is really great to see, and a nice view of the fake eyes, those black spots on the back of its head. I imagine that would give a predator a fright if it does turn its head very quickly. Actually see lots of different animals that have those faux eyes, especially with moths and caterpillars. Very dramatic, and you can see why it does look like it has got something on the back of its head. It's very striking. Wouldn't it be great if we sat down and did its call? Elizabeth, yes, cute is a great word to describe what these little owlets are. They're so tiny. They're really, really small. I'd like to be able to show you the southern white-faced owl at some point as well. We see them often enough. What have you seen on the ground, bird? There's lots of tall grass just below it. I reckon all the little insects are going to get active now. Yeah, Rosemary, that is something that's quite obvious with these little owls, is their white eyebrows. It would be great if it does fly down into the grass, because it's super open as well. So we might even be able to see if it does catch something, what it is eating. Maybe not any luck with a rodent today. Maybe a grasshopper. Everything likes to eat grasshoppers. I'm going to have to give them a try myself one day. Better not eat too much. Little owl, come on, dive down for us. And it's crazy when you see them. They just jump off that edge of that branch, tuck their wings in, and go down, and they sort of dive straight down. It's quite impressive. Speaking of something else that's going down, it seems as though Tandi's descending a tree.
She's right next to the car. She's looking at me. She's looking right into my eyes. She's thinking about jumping up that tree. Oh my goodness. You will not believe what just happened, everybody. You will not believe it. 2 hyenas came and chased Tandy up the smallest combretum I've ever seen. And she couldn't sit. There was no place for her bottom. She just perched. One of the hyenas was June. Sorry, she's disappeared. We can't show you any longer. And the other hyena, I'm not sure. It was a male. Okay, time to bumble on. That was absolutely incredible. Tandy showed, talking about habituation again, Tandy showed no fear, really familiar with the vehicle. We're stationary, we're calm, we're not chasing her. It was the hyenas that chased her. That's her biggest worry. Okay, we're just looking after our antenna, and we're going to follow Tandy. Andrew, yes, I'm not sure what visual everybody had, because I had to keep my eyes on Tandy, but she came right to the car. And this is twice this has happened to me with Tandy, and it's nothing to do with me, but it's just something I've observed, that when she's scared, when she's fleeing fear, she runs to the vehicle. She came straight to the vehicle. She seems to, Tandy will snarl at you, but she also seems to be aware that the vehicle is really not something that's ever going to harm her. She's here. And I had this exact same sort of occurrence when I went to visit Tandy. Steve found her up a tree, and the Nkuhuma lioness chased her out of the tree and stole her kill. And she did the exact same thing. She ran straight to the car. And she's a wild animal. There's no human animal interaction here. That's not what I'm trying to imply, but what I am trying to imply is she's very familiar with the vehicles, and she seems to know or have some cognitive awareness that if she hides behind the vehicle, it will block her. The threat won't be able to see her, and I just find it fascinating that that's twice that's happened to me. June and the other hyena approached, and immediately she came straight to our vehicle. Her tail's twitching. She sees something. She was snarling at June, really, really snarling. June now has a floppy ear, so it's very easy to identify June. And June's one of our females as part of the Juma clan. She was snarling, but the minute the other male came onto the scene, that was 2 against 1. The minute another hyena joined the scene, everything changed for Tandy, and that's when she ran to us. And this is what we talk about within the sort of dynamics of leopards and hyenas. It's a numbers game. Tandy felt okay when it was just her and June. But the minute the situation changed and another hyena came onto the scene, Tandy felt threatened, and that's when she went up the nearest tree that happened to be right in front of us. Look at that tail, twitch, twitch, twitch. I don't personally see anything. Don't know what she's looking at. Leaping lizard, yes, that's very cool. It's been such a magical morning, starting off with seeing Corky again, to seeing the cubs, and to now being with Miss Tandy. Whatever it was she was looking at, she's now changed her mind about it, that's for sure. See, that's another vehicle. She's walking right past the vehicle. She really doesn't fear them. Okay, I'm going to keep up with our queen, and hopefully she catches something for breakfast.
Welcome back, everyone. We have just driven around these rhinos to try and get a slightly different view. And this is not just the most picturesque scene. Look at that. Oh, he's busy scent marking. The rhino on the left. Don't know if you were just able to see. He just stopped and curled his tail up over his back. Almost like a farm pig, how they'll curl their tail up. And as he did that, he sprayed a massive spurt of urine out on the ground there, just marking his territory. And he's still following along behind that female, which is the grey lump you can see on the right. Keeping his distance, so obviously he hasn't been accepted by her just yet. But we really wanted to just show you a different view of these rhinos from a different angle, so you can just see the magnificent grassland that they're currently walking through. The rolling hills stretching off in the distance out to the east of us. Aussie lady, you saying that this is picture perfect. Aussie lady, I definitely agree with you. It's just so special to be able to see these creatures out here in an open grassland in their natural habitat. Out in the open as well. We're going to, I think, leave these rhinos from here, everyone. They're probably going to carry on grazing through this open plain, and then maybe, like they did yesterday, go for a bit of a mud wallow a bit later today. We're going to go see what else we can find for you. In the meantime, let's go and see what Taylor's got for you.
So can you believe it? We're still with exactly the same owl, and I apologize if I sound distracted. I'm just listening to Impala alarming in the distance. So it hasn't moved very much, but what did happen is that a pair of chin-spot batis, which is a very small little bird, came around, and they were very unhappy with the owl and were chirping quite a lot. So it flew from its spot but to just some sort of, I suppose, a little bit more of a protected area. But it's actually made for a very pretty scene with all those little marula branches creeping on in. A perfect opportunity for some screenshots. So, you know, we're so lucky to see little things like this. I mean, the fact that you get to see this amazing close-up of this owl is quite spectacular, because it's just not the same when you're on a normal safari, unless you've got a really good pair of binoculars. But I have obviously grown to be quite spoilt and always be able to look down at my monitor, as we are now, and see just the intricate details of these birds and insects and all sorts of things, you know. So I always need to remember how lucky I am to do this. and to have the opportunity to see this, because most safari guides don't get to see close-ups like this, or most people in general. But this poor owl in Africa is not really well loved like we love it. There are many beliefs in various cultures, and actually not just in Africa but all over the world, that they are bad and that they can bring about death. So they're often killed, poisoned, or just people say horrible things about them all the time. This is, of course, not necessarily true. And then you go up into Europe and they are perceived to be wise. That's how I grew up knowing an owl, is that they, show wisdom. And if I'm not mistaken, wasn't it Athena, the goddess, in Greek mythology? Didn't she have a little owl that sort of portrayed her wisdom? I can't remember, but I remember something in a book when I was younger that I was reading. I'll have to go back and have a look at that. Perhaps it will stay here, just on this marula tree, maybe bounce around to a few more shrubs. Please fly down, owl. Please fly down. It would be so good, because like I said, we'll see it in the grass, which will be really amazing. Just the impala stopped alarming, so I don't think it was anything serious. I wanted to go and investigate, but they fooled me so many times. I suppose we don't get many opportunity. Oh, okay, right. It seems as though this is what we'll be doing today, is birding. Off you go to James.
Here we have got a juvenile African harrier hawk. And it is looking for food. Let me just go around the corner. Got a lovely few sightings of it. I keep thinking it'll disappear, and then it alights on a tree close by. And I think this is the one we've seen a few times. It's there. Can you see it, BK? Let me just go forward. It's quite high up on that dead tree over there. Ow. Ow. There we are. And it's gone. Thank you for nothing. Let's continue. We're going to go around and see if we can pick up some tracks of the deer Shidulu from yesterday. Let's now go back to the Kalahari. I believe the meerkats are out in the sun.
We've just been having an absolute whale of a time with these little meerkats. The ant-eating chats, these little dark brown, almost black birds that flit around you. They've been very, very active around the burrows now. And it actually got to one point, it was very cute. This bird thing put in front of the and this meerkat was, and there was like this moment where everything was just like frozen in time, like, okay, who's going to do what next? Then the bird left. It wasn't long, but the meerkat a bit showed her. She just points out, when you start seeing that kind of thing, the more play behavior and activity around the burrows that you're getting, the greater the likelihood is that there's actually an abundance of food in the area, so they can actually afford to spend or start spending more time in these kind of behaviors rather than, actually, guys, we need to get out, we need to start foraging, we need to get enough food. So this is, those of you who have been with us on this journey over the past couple of weeks, you'll remember now we're sitting with all 6 meerkats out. In the beginning with this group, there was no ways. It was just those two. And this just shows the value. We haven't been pushing these meerkats at all in any way. We've been very, in fact, some people may even argue even a little bit conservative in the distance that we've been keeping there. But I'd always, 100% of the time, err on the side of giving animals more space rather than less space. That's just a good principle. If animals come to you of their own accord, different story, but rather give them more space and let them move out. We've got a chat that's completely out of frame now, but he's watching these meerkats. I think that these chats hope that with any burrow maintenance that goes on in the mornings, that they unearth little tidbits, things that the meerkats may miss, that these chats can come in and get some snacks. There are, in fact, also records of chats nesting down burrows like this. And we know they nest underground. We've seen that on the porcupine burrows, aardvark holes, that kind of stuff. But even in these smaller burrows, and there are actually occasions where these chicks have actually fallen out of the nest and been eaten by meerkats. So these little bundles of joy that we're seeing here also have another darker side to them. But they got to survive. That's nature. It's not. There's no malicious intent or anything.
Tandy is really making sure I've got my work cut out for me here. Let me just try and figure out how to navigate this turn. I'm sure it's highly entertaining watching me try to drive. I know there's a stump here. I just hope I'm not going to hit it, Morgan. Ah, I'm good. Okay, Tandy is just over here, I promise. Now, she's weaving through the roads that we always see her on, Juma. She's definitely shifted her territory back to her natal stomping grounds. Tandy was from Torchwood, and she seemed to have naturally gravitated back that way. Now let me try and relocate our spotted cat. Ah, right in front of us. Ah, how camouflage is Tandy. You got her? See how easily she just blends into the background. She's stalking. She's going down. She's going down. She sees something. Now, only 16% of leopard hunts or attempted hunts end in success. 16. And that's a figure that's very specific for the Kruger. So they regularly stalk, try, ambush, and fail. And that's normal. That's normal for a leopard. Okay. I can still see her. See? Just see her body moving. We could easily lose her here. Okay, I think what I'm gonna do is go round. We don't want to lose her, but we also don't want to interrupt any potential hunt that she may have lined up. I don't see any prey, but of course I do not have leopard eyes. In fact, I barely have human eyes. Okay, I will do my very best here, and let's hope I can keep up with the Queen.
Wild Earth relies on support from viewers like you to carry on broadcasting our daily live shows. A small donation goes a long way in helping us on our mission to connect the world with nature. Please visit our support page to see how you can help and become part of the Wild Earth family.
So these little anteating chats keep flitting around these burrows here, and it is so cool to watch. Because kind of every time they'll be sitting up on one of these nearby bushes, then every time they come swooping in, the meerkats do this like duck and go underground, and then they pop out. Okay, well, it's only the chat. And look at him sitting right there. Yeah, they're just hoping that they get some little morsel that the meerkats may have missed. Although you must just think, with 6 pairs of ridiculously sharp eyes, I don't think there's going to be too much snacking going on the parts of the anteating chats. But again, clearly it's the fact that they're doing it every single morning probably tells you that there's enough in it to make it worth their while to spend time around these meerkats. They're actually may move out foraging fairly soon. The one closest to me is the alpha female. And when I say close, to give you some idea, that she's 10 yards from me. But I think they're going to go foraging very, very soon. I don't even know why I keep saying that, because I keep getting it wrong consistently. Wildcare is asking, what is going to happen when the pups come out? What are they going to do? And so for the first couple of weeks, they actually just stay very, very, very close to the burrow entrances. But they'll start sunning themselves, they'll start playing, there'll be a lot of play behavior. And obviously a lot of care with the adults. As they start getting a little bit older, and they start foraging in an area literally a couple of yards from these burrows, the adults will be digging things up, and there'll be a lot of begging from the pups. So they'll actually be going up to the adults whenever they get a food item, and the adults 99% of the time will actually just drop it and let those pups have it. But yeah, there's going to be the play behavior that you're going to be seeing going on here is going to be really, really, really good. And all that play behavior geared completely towards survival. You know, we see it as, and I guess, yeah, play is the accepted word for it. But I mean, there's a strong survival aspect to it. It's not, you know, they're not playing because they feel like sitting on a swing and have got nothing else to do during the day. You know, it's all about hunting, fighting, that kind of thing. Yes, I'm so pleased with how well this group has become habituated to us. Sure, this is a huge privilege. Yeah, little ones. So this little alpha female always leads first. Joel has asked, how deep will the burrows go? They don't go down that deep. So this top layer of sand, and I'm talking about the first 30 centimeters or so, is very, very, very loose. So they need to get through that first top layer, and then the sand is actually pretty firm, pretty compressed underneath it. And it's what we call amorphic, so it doesn't have a set structure, and that's why this top layer is normally very, very loose. But the deeper you go, the firmer it becomes, and that's when they can actually get these tunnels going. They don't need to go down too deep, because then they're just expending a lot of energy. And from between 30 and 50 centimeters below ground, so it's only half a meter maximum, the temperature gradient kind of levels out. So there's very, very little change in temperature from, you know, across a winter or across the summer months. So the temperature is very stable once you pass that 30, let's say 50 centimeter mark. So they'd be going deeper than 50 centimeters, but much deeper than that, it's probably not worth the energy that's expended on that. Good morning, little one. Hey. Yeah, we're also keeping an eye out for you, don't worry. If we see anything, we will be sure to let you know. We don't speak meerkat though, but we can try. And see, this point here where they're moving away from the burrow is always critical, because they're moving into this area of the unknown. Yeah, they can argue, well, we can argue, well, they've got really, really good eyesight, so they'd be watching out very, very carefully. But you don't know what's been stalking them during the course of the evening. And animals do that. And your predators, they know, geez, okay, like a wildcat will know, this is an active burrow. There's a lot of scent. They're actually seeing these meerkats in and out of this burrow all the time. So it wouldn't be too difficult to actually set up an ambush in an area like this. You see, remember I was saying how I don't like approaching them directly? Rather let them come to us. That little female is now 2.5 yards away from me.
Welcome back, everybody. Now, we left those white rhinos grazing in the open, and we've carried on to see what else we can find. We've managed to find a black rhino and her calf. Now, we're quite far away from her, and we're not wanting to get too much nearer for the time being. Just wanting to give her a lot of space. Often with black rhino, because of the fact that they live in thicker bush and a little bit smaller than the white rhino, and often a bit more solitary, they tend to be a bit more nervous around vehicles and a bit more kind of jumpy. So we're watching her from a distance for now. How amazing is that? Both white rhino and black rhino in one morning. Now, how we can tell from this distance that it is a black rhino is that have a look at her head now that she's holding it out like that. See, when she's got her head up like that, there isn't a big bunch of muscle behind her head. So there's the hump on her shoulder. But in the case of a white rhino, because a white rhino feeds on grass, its neutral kind of head and neck position is hanging down towards the ground. And if it lifts its head, it forms a big bunch of muscle at the back of the neck. So that isn't visible. Another thing that we can see is that saddle on the back of this rhino. Look at how deep the saddle is. The saddle on the back of a black rhino is much deeper than that of a white rhino. So from a distance, that's how we can tell. And also see, if we look carefully, that she is busy feeding on bushes as opposed to feeding on the grass like those white rhino were doing. Another kind of behavioral difference that we can use to help us to identify which species of rhino it is. Of course, the white rhinos will only feed on grass, whereas this black rhino will feed on leaves and twigs and fruits growing in the bushes. And she's, like I said, she has got a youngster there. It looks like it's quite an old youngster, probably almost at the age of independence. And it was pretty close to her a few moments ago. They were kind of sniffing each other's noses, but it seems to have moved off. Miss Nisha, you're asking if white rhinos and black rhinos get along. Miss Nisha, because they both feed on slightly different, or on different foods, the black rhinos on leaves and twigs, like I said, and the white rhinos on grass, they don't compete for food or resources, and so yes, they do coexist peacefully. There's quite an amazing photograph that was taken here in the far north of and beyond Pinda. Oh, she's lying down. No ways. She just lay down. She just lay down behind that guarri bush. Probably gone to sleep. So, sorry, I was going to say, there was a photograph taken a few years ago here of a white rhino and black rhino actually sniffing each other's faces. Apparently it was a very peaceful interaction. Now, with black rhino often being slightly more nocturnal, this is the time of day when she's going to start looking for a spot to rest. And I think that little sunny patch behind that bush is her chosen spot. There is a road that goes down towards that area. It goes in amongst those zebra that you can see busy grazing and swishing their tails. So I wonder if we don't go down there, we'll go nice and slowly, nice and carefully, we might be able to get you another view of this black rhino.
So after the amazing black rhino sighting, we, in Pinda, now we're back here at Ambion in Gala. So we drove quite a bit of the riverbed to see if there's any signs of some of the leopards or possibly even lions or any of the other more common animals that we see. But this morning was quite a quiet morning. I think all the animals, especially in this area now, are having a bit of a early Sunday morning lie-in. But right over here, you'll see there's one of the impala males, and there's quite a few oxpeckers on it. And we just came down here just to stop and listen to hear if there's anything else that we can possibly hear. But if we don't hear anything from here, we'll most likely just do another loop and see if there's any signs of potentially some leopard in that area. If not, of course, this afternoon we'll give it another go. But it's just been such a beautiful morning. It's warming up quite nicely now. And we just wanted to stop because the light was so beautiful on these impala earlier on. Looks like the oxpicker is actually trying to grab some chicks that are just wedged under the horn there. Just moved into the bush at the back. I think what we'll do from here is let's slowly carry on with our drive. Oh, he's moving out. See how that oxpicker is clamped onto his leg. The thing is, often when you can see with those oxpickers, they can actually maneuver themselves all the way and cling onto the belly of those impala. It's quite amazing just to watch them feed and move around. But I think for now, let's slowly carry on. Maybe there's, as we mentioned, there could be some other signs that, oh, wonder what those impala saw. They just gave like quite a big snort and ran off, and they are looking in this direction. Let's quickly go around and see if there's anything in the riverbed. I can see quite a bit of cloud. Oh, it's an elephant. I think it's an elephant dust bathing. Here we go, let's have a look. I'm just going to move to the front here and then we'll stop. And I wonder if maybe they'd probably heard the ears of the elephant, or maybe as it was flicking sand onto itself, because the only thing we could see was quite a bit of dust. And then from there on the impala just ran. So there we go. Let's stop like this. Just going to grab my binoculars and also have a look. Elizabeth, how special is this? I do agree with you. It's just so exciting to see elephants early on in the morning. It looks like it might be a young male. I can't see any of the other elephants around. But I wonder, as we mentioned earlier, if probably because of the elephant either flicking its ears or just making a lot of noise, is what got those impala, gave them a bit of a fright. But just judging by the size of his tusks and the overall size of this elephant, it is a young bull. And most likely only recently left the herd. Let's see where he might be off to. There's quite a prominent game trail right in front of where that elephant is, but it's quite steep up onto that bank. It'd be interesting to see if the elephant's going to move up there or if it's going to decide to carry on. Happy lady, I think there's a good chance that this elephant was digging for water, but it was quite strange because all we heard was like a bit of noise, and then as we started driving this direction, there was a lot of sand, like a cloud of dust in the air as well. So I think maybe this elephant would have probably flicked a bit of sand onto his back, and as it flicked its ears, probably dislodged all of that dust into the air, and that's what we've seen. But at the other, it might have even been digging for water. There's some water in there. If it's carrying on the way that it's carrying on now, there's a good chance it might head to the water that's right next to us. And also, you might just hear there's a bird that's quite close to the water's edge. It's called a great go-away bird. That's that go-away bird that the call that you might be hearing. Oh, there's the elephant. He's decided to go and dig for more water. So maybe that's what he was after the whole time. Maybe digging for water, going from one place to another. Because even though there would be a little bit of water right next to us, it's quite dirty and I think very concentrated. And because of that, the elephant probably prefer to dig for some cleaner water. Oh, there we go. So there is a bit of water there. Did you see like the first little bit that went out was a bit of sand in that? So I wonder if as he was sucking up the water, he probably sucked up a bit of sand and then pushed the sand out and then from there on, the clean water into his mouth. It's amazing how smart elephants are. Let's see if he's going to do exactly the same. So remember, might just be digging now. There could be a lot of sand that falls in every time he's trying to take a sip. Here we go. I think most of it might be clean. I think there might have been other elephants based on the tracks around that came past here earlier this morning. High beyond it is just so special. Absolutely amazing. It's a very good comment. I think one thing really that stands out, especially with this particular bull for me is, even though he's so small, because often what happens is when elephants reach the age of around about 16 years of age, especially if they're bulls, they are pushed out of the herd, and sometimes they'll join up with older elephant bulls that would act as a mentor, show them all the areas to go, where all, like in the wintertime, where's some of the more permanent water sources, so they'll mentor them. But judging by his age and seeing that he's by himself, I think this elephant has done really well, especially if he's going to be, or if he's moving all along the river here, digging in some of the areas here for water. I can just imagine he must have learned all of this probably from his mom, maybe even after he left his mom from another elephant bull, but most likely, just judging by the area, knowing how the herds often expose the babies to this, that's probably been taught him for quite a few years. So at least he knows where to find water in times of drought. But no, that's a very interesting question with the wrinkles of an elephant. So basically, like you can just imagine on a very warm day, like you have to have certain things in order to help you lose of course, heat. So we sweat, or we could move into a bit of shade. We might jump into the pool to cool down. Both with elephants, they don't always have that luxury. And so what happens is, by having a skin that's several sizes too big for it, there's more surface area to lose heat. Also, if they do flick mud or water or anything onto their backs, it actually goes into those little crevices and then slowly or into those wrinkles, and then slowly starts to cool the elephant down, especially if it has to flap those big ears over it. You can see also the big ears are adapted for it, where it's nice and thin, so a lot of the major veins would run through those ears. So as the elephants would be moving around, flapping those ears, it helps to cool it down as well. But mainly, the biggest skin would be the more surface area, the more heat to lose, especially on a very warm African day. And you can imagine how thick an elephant's skin must be, especially considering some of the thorn trees that they have to maneuver around and push over to get to some of the leaves, or even the roots. He's enjoying it so much. Just have a look at the color of his tusks as well. You can see it's covered with mud. So maybe yesterday, because it was pretty warm during the middle of the day, he might have gone down to some or similar area to this, where there's a bit more of a clay or a bit more mud, and probably like flicked it onto itself. And that mud is probably from yesterday. Often if they do go into the water and they swim a little bit, it's nice and clean. You can really see that bright white color. But it's very interesting to watch.
So at least 3 of the group have moved around behind me, so they've gone out foraging, and we're just waiting for these 2, and then there's still a babysitter down one of the burrows. So I guess we're not going to see the pups we're not going to see the pups this morning, but these things happen. I think what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to get up, I'm going to move around completely out of the way. The most nervous one in the group is the one on the right-hand side out of these 2. And he's approached me twice now. And then he's like, no, he doesn't trust this. And then he goes back. So I'm actually going to get up and I'm going to move slowly around to my left, just so I'm completely out of the way. Like I say, always just err on the side of giving animals more space. If you're ever in any doubt, move further away. Thank you, Victor. I really appreciate that. Victor says it is just too beautiful and no worries about the pups. Yeah. Sometimes, in this kind of, I really... you really want to put a lot of effort into getting sightings for people. Doesn't matter what it is, whether it's a sengi or a petroglyph or finding a cool stone tool or a particular spider or meerkats or whatever it is. And, you can put in a huge amount of effort. And because it's nature, you can never guarantee any of those things and that. And sometimes you have these curveballs that get thrown. Doesn't matter what it is. It could be a cold front that comes through or anything. But you know, you kind of like, well, I certainly kind of like take it to heart, and you also like pride yourself in being able to find things, and just sometimes it just doesn't work. So you know, like take it for what it is, I guess. So it's nice to hear that. It's not about waiting and having to see the pups. It's about the whole atmosphere. It's the whole spirit of the thing that we're in. I'm actually going to move even further around this bush. I'm completely away from these little guys.
So it didn't take too long before, of course, that young male was moved off by a female and her youngster. And it looks like while the mother's having a drink, that youngster's still trying to have a drink from the mom. You see the way she's bending down. It's quite awkward for him to get under her in order to drink. Here we go. So also just judging by the size of his tusk, like this elephant's probably close to like 2.5, maybe 3 years old, if not a little bit more. So this is normally the time when they weaned off from drinking mom's milk. But you can see, of course, maybe this one is still thirsty and is trying to still get a little bit of mom's milk. It's pretty special to watch. So it does look like this youngster is having a drink at the moment. Let's see if it's going to go around and try and suckle again. I know a lot of the viewers that are watching I'm pretty mind blown by what's happening now. Because, before I finish my thought, is like if you look at that in between the mum's legs, you notice the little one's actually using the trunk to try and pull the teats a little bit closer so he can have a drink. And of course, he's not getting as much as he wants, so now he's trying to get some water. But it is I would agree with all the viewers, it is an amazing sighting to watch. And what's also pretty special, often when you look at animals like this, there's always a story behind it. Like, where did they come from? Like, how far did they have to walk in order to get to water? So if you look at that female, it's hard to see from here, but just above her tusks, like close to her eyes, you'll notice that it looks like there's a bit of moisture just behind her eyes. Now that's from a gland called the temporal gland. So in other words, with males, whenever they go into must and they have all this testosterone, that they start secreting a liquid from there. But the females, of course, that's not always the case. With them, it's like as soon as they start secreting moisture or like a liquid from that temporal gland, it's a sign that they are stressed. So just imagine how far this female had to walk in order to get the youngster here to have a drink of water. And you can just imagine with her experience, if she didn't know about this area or she had to try anywhere else, the chances are very unlikely that the youngster I think it'd be very hard for that youngster to survive without the knowledge of mom. But it is also very heartwarming to know that at least they got their drink. I think while we're watching them for the next little while, let's send you across to TAYLA, because apparently there's also more animals drinking there.
There isn't much here, unfortunately. There's just a couple of impala. We did have 2 different breeding herds come through to have a drink, one on either side of the dam. but it's not the greatest view, I'm afraid. You can just see a few heads popping up, but the bulk of the herd has already moved up and over the dam wall. They don't really want to spend too much time here, especially where they are on that corner, because it's quite a steep drop to go up and down. And then, of course, to be pinned right at the water's edge is not a really good thing. There they go. But we've actually been watching the elephants come up and down here, so some of you might remember how steep it actually is. But we just thought we'd pop down to Ndlovu Dam, but unfortunately there isn't much else around. What have you seen, Gert? Oh, did you have impala there? I was wondering, well, maybe you saw a bird or something. But, yeah, very quiet at the dam. It normally is at this time. But yes, Buddy, they were nervous, as I said, because they were pretty much pinned into where the water was, so they had nowhere to go. If a leopard came over the top of the dam wall, they would have to jump into the water and try and get away that way. But they don't really want to do that, but they can swim. They can swim fairly well. But yeah, there they go. And that is the impala. What else have we got here? There is a heron very, very far away. You might all have to actually get your binoculars out to have a look at this one. It's so far, even with that zooming full in, all the way in. So there's just a grey heron just resting. It's a grey heron that we see every time we come here. Just doing its thing, warming up in the sun, not really wanting to do much at all. It's been a nice morning. I'm hoping that this afternoon we are lucky enough to find some leopards. Right. The elephants will come on through to the dam, but it's normally just after the show ends. But for the final few minutes, let's go to Nikki, who has still got the elephants.
So we're just having a look. So we're back from the mother and the youngster. We've moved to that young male that was earlier down at that little hole trying to dig for water. Now, when the bigger female came, she actually pushed him off to the side. So earlier on, he was trying to get water from where he is now, and he couldn't get it, so he had to push his head and his tusk in to try and dig a little bit deeper to try and get to the water. But let's see if he's just going to watch them and patiently wait until they move before he goes and drinks again. But have a look at how beautiful this scene is. I mean, there's 3 elephants in the riverbed. Like you have there one just off to the side, the mother and the youngster drinking. Lulu, I can't agree with you more. It's been an absolutely amazing morning. Even for us, I mean, like just being able to spend some time and hear the different noises and also the different smells, because basically where we're sitting we can smell these elephants. But I wonder what's going to happen from here. Eventually when the mum and the youngster finish drinking, they'll probably venture off, go and start feeding. This young bull might just patiently wait for them to move, and as soon as they finish, he'll go and drink, and then from there probably carry on and feed into the area. But definitely very, very special. And later on, maybe, we might even find more and more elephants here. But from all of us, from the elephants, from the birds, from myself and Owen, we just want to say to everyone, thank you very much for joining in, and hopefully we'll see you this afternoon.